did it because we screened it and thought it was funny, and so there's definitely, like you say, there's no master plan of we're losing this X demographic. Let's get this out. We do stuff that we enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Well, now because you only have to sell an audio file to sync up with a particular movie, you're not restricted to what movies you can and cannot comment upon. Yet, while the movies are more popular and big budgeted, the Riff Tracks feature-length library is still heavily weighted towards the sci-fi, fantasy, horror genre. Are you now picking those movies simply because they're easy prey?
No, there's a couple of factors that go into it. We do stuff, if we do something that completely indulges our own ideas of what we think people will like, for instance, Karate Kid 3, which is one of my favorites that we've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, nobody bought that one, which I'm not always concerned about that in terms of a strict, obviously we have a business to run here, but on one level I don't care, but it's just that it's not reaching anyone and it feels wasted. It's like we wish more people would see this. And it just must be a factor of people don't have a DVD. People aren't terribly interested in going up to a video store and saying, I'd like to rent Karate Kid 3 or what have you.
Right.
So it tends to be things that both interest us and also are highly available and are on people's radar so that they actually make the effort to get the DVD or that they might have a chance of already owning it. And that tends to lead to the formula that we've hit on, that are kind of these bigger genre titles that work well for us and work well for the audience.
So you're in sort of this constant mode of tension between what you want to do and what will sell.
Yeah, but they cross over. Luckily, they cross over a lot. The only thing we miss are those weird things that are on the fringes that we just know won't sell. Whereas we'll do stuff that is a little, like we did, the Stallone movie Over the Top.
Mm-hmm.
That's never going to be a huge seller, but it does okay, and it makes us very happy. We did it for a live show once too, and people were delighted. So it's not that people don't like the product. Again, it's just the getting a DVD and actually sort of motivating them to get it is sort of. There's some steps to get someone excited about it.
All right. I went through the Riff Tracks feature-length library a few nights ago, and depending on how you define a comic book movie, because some movies retroactively become CBMs, you've got anywhere from 25 to 40 CBMs that you've riffed on. Many of them are from the last 12 years. What are your general thoughts on the comic book movie revolution? Is it here to stay, or do you think that there'll be a sort of renaissance of original material in the sci-fi fantasy genre that will displace this comic book movies?
I kind of thought that it was going to taper off. I've thought that a couple of times just because of, we sort of have to pay attention to box office and interest, and there's been a couple of flops that make me think, well, maybe it's all cresting, and then I'm proven wrong again and again. I mean, this is quite enduring, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But you think it'll still be here in 20 years?
I do. I do. In what form, I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's the style of the time will be different, but I think it will.
Do you think comic book movies are just an easy out for some Hollywood studios that might not want to take a chance on new material?
Well, it probably fulfills a couple of things for them. I mean, we all know now that selling the movie overseas is a big part of it, and this checks all those boxes for them, where it's got a fan base here, they can do it without embarrassing themselves too much, and they can sell it overseas. These are good things. These are franchises are where it's at now that it's so expensive to make a movie and market it.
Yeah. All right. Well, most comic book fanboys are happy anytime a comic book movie comes out. But a lot of the comic book movies are not very well received by the fanboy community. Personally, as a fanboy myself, I'll go see any CBM that I didn't like again and again, hoping that it grows on me, but really to no avail. So I don't end up buying that particular Blu-ray or DVD, but that is until the Riff Tracks comes out on it. And I bought 4 comic book movie DVDs just so I could listen to the riff provided by Riff Tracks. They were Daredevil, both Fantastic Four movies, and X-Men 3, which, by the way, is one of my favorite riffs. So, Riff Tracks gives the comic book movie fanboy a legitimate reason to buy and like that subpar comic book movie.
That's great because I mean, one of the comments we always get, like we don't really tip our hands about who likes what movie, or we have the same stance. There's something like about all these movies. We just want to make them fun, and if a movie's bad, we treat it at the level basically that we feel that it deserves. And so it's never fun. It's never a fun experience to watch a dreadful movie and then just have someone sitting next to you going, "Oh God, this is awful. Oh, look at how terrible this is." I mean, that's not fun. It may be true. So our attitude is always to try to enjoy these things while at the same time, poking the things that deserve poking, but otherwise lifting the whole experience. So I think we can actually help some of those movies that didn't hit when they first came out.
Right. Well, on dovetailing that, I doubt it's happened, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Has any studio executive ever come to you and said, thank you for boosting our ancillary income for our subpar movie?
No, it's kind of amazing that we've never even heard a peep. I would have thought one way or the other. We've had some meetings on other unrelated things where we've talked to executives and they've been aware of us and they've kind of just, but we're too small to matter to them.
Right.
And it's kind of best if they just don't raise the issue. Like, oh yeah, we know what you're doing. That sounds great. What a great idea. We just don't, they just can't get involved because of the relationships that they have with producers and stars and everything else. But they're aware of what they're making and what we're doing with it.
Mm. Well, what has been your favorite comic book movie riff?
I have to sort of separate what how it is to do it, the experience of doing it,
mm-hmm.
and then how it ends up. I have to say, on the level of just enjoying the movie, if I can separate these things out, I did think that Captain America was my favorite in terms of just the actual movie.
Mm-hmm.
What we came up with, I really enjoyed, and maybe it's just because it's fresh on my mind, but I enjoyed some of the laughs in Thor. So it's a little over the map, and if I watched them again, because I don't often return to them because you spend so much time, my mind would quite possibly be changed if someone said, you should really watch your own riff of this. It's, either, hey, it's great or it's terrible or whatever. But it's just something we don't do a lot of, so you kind of rely on your memory of having gone through it.
Okay, so you don't go back and review your riffs, maybe, 2 or 3 months after the fact?
No, we sort of, we wait for people to kind of give us the cues about which ones are good, and then we'll sort of cull them for samples and try to get better samples for things that we've already done, because it's a little too fresh and painful to revisit things, after you've spent many, 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 many hours with them.
Yeah, I remember one interview, and I think you were still doing Mystery Science Theater at the time, but you were commenting upon how torturous the process of riffing on a movie can be, and you said, I just didn't want to go into the studio and look at Joe Don Baker's sweaty mug for the 1,000th time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the hardest one for me, if I'll throw out one more insight into it, I think the hardest one was Iron Man, because it's coming from an angle where it's supposed to be a little
comedic.
I don't want. Yeah, comedic.
Right.
I didn't want to say cheeky, but yeah, definitely a little more straightforward comedic.
So you do find it harder to riff on a movie that's intentionally comedic.
Yeah, either way, it doesn't work. I mean, if it's funny already, what the hell are you chiming in for?
Right, exactly.
If it's not funny, then all you're saying is, well, that wasn't very funny, and that's not funny either. So.
All right. Well, you guys have the poll on. At least you did last week on your Riff Tracks website about which Avengers scene are you most excited for. So, is it an automatic that there will be an Avengers riff?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Have you gone to see the Avengers yet?
No, I was taken, as you know, quite ill, so haven't been able to see it.
Okay. Well, when I spoke to you a few weeks ago, there was no immediate plans for another CBM riff. That hasn't changed, has it?
No, we kind of pick our targets out in the future as much as we can. One of the things I've noticed is that they're pretty coy about release dates out in great advance, which would be helpful for us if we knew going ahead. So we kind of have to fill in our schedule with stuff, and then and be sort of flexible at the last minute about which one we want to do. So that's my long-winded answer. That no, there's nothing right now.
So Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance, it's not in the tea leaves, huh?
No, it's just one of those. I have that sixth sense about that people wouldn't be as interested as some of the others. We're sort of saving our ammo for ones I think people will be a little more excited about.
Yeah, I thought you guys might like it. Because when you did The Wicker Man, great riff, by the way, you guys seem to have a lot of fun with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, we did screen it. I think it would be good. I'm not ruling it out. I'm just saying, as we sort of sift all these different things and see which one will be better as we go up throughout the year, he's always a draw for us.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you're at liberty to say, what is your next feature-length riff?
Well, it's a VOD title. That's our code name for it. It's a public domain.
Okay, gotcha. More like Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah, exactly. Which we love doing because, first of all, we can reach out to those people who just haven't embraced, the syncing up, and there's some fans, of Mystery Science who like a little more of those kind of movies. So we try to mix it up and do a little bit for everyone. And it helps keep our sanity as well, because obviously feature-length modern movies, for some reason they decided a few years ago to make every one of them 2 hours and 20 to 40 minutes long, whereas, doing a movie from the 50s or 60s, 80 minutes and you're out of there.
Right. Yeah, it's a little bit more work for you guys.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Nelson, I thank you for your time. I hope this interview brings some much-deserved new exposure to riff tracks. I also hope you'll come back to comicbookmovie.com when you do have another CBM riff warming up in the bullpen.
Will do, and I appreciate talking to you. This was fun.
All right. It's been a pleasure, Mr. Nelson.
Me too. Take care. Bye-bye. Because we screened it and thought it was funny, and, so... There's definitely, like you say, there's no master plan of we're losing this, X demographic. Let's get this out. We do stuff that we enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Well, now because you only have to sell an audio file to sync up with a particular movie, you're not restricted to what movies you can and cannot comment upon. Yet, while the movies are more popular and big budgeted, the Riff Tracks feature-length library is still heavily weighted towards the sci-fi, fantasy, horror genre. Are you now picking those movies simply because they're easy prey?
No, there's a couple of factors that go into it. We do stuff, if we do something that completely